Welcome to the Six Again podcast, your new destination for all things NRL. Here to bring you everything from team news to best bets are your hosts Adam Hoy and Jared Newton. Let's kick off.
Hello and welcome in to the Six Again podcast, coming to you as always from Sunshine Coast, Queensland, Australia. We're pretty amped about this episode because it's the first of our 2021 regular season shows. We're back to twice a week. We're pre-recording our Sunday night show as Jared's going away camping, and we're ready to bring our first three clubs at you with regards to analysis, team lists, our preferred teams, coaches, stats, all that sort of stuff coming your way, as well as the updated latest news of the week. My name's Adam. I'm the resident Manly fan, and my mate on the other end of our Zoom call is Jared.
Yeah, I'm more curious about the picture you got in the background of your Zoom.
Oh yeah, so for any new listeners, we do put all our episodes up on YouTube, usually a couple of days later, but my background tonight is a little fella in a maroon jersey by the name of Paul Green being chased probably in vain by Brian Fletcher, we'll be honest. Speed wasn't one of his attributes that we talk about, but we did mention on our Wednesday night show that it looked as though Paul Green was going to get the Maroons job, and he was successful in gaining that. So congratulations, Paul Green's been signed up on a one-year contract. That was going to be later in the show, but Jared segued me into it anyway.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it last time. There's a lot of conversations made about it, but look, Queensland haven't made this mistake in their coach for a long time, so he's obviously got the resume there. Why can't he succeed? They've got it. They're current holders of the Origin Shield, so they should do all right with him.
I love hearing you say that.
Well, look, I was more mad than anyone losing that. We should not have lost that series with the players. The comparisons between the players, there's no way in hell we should have lost that. Here we are.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, thanks.
Here we are.
Yeah, cool. So Jared's going away camping over the weekend, so there's probably going to be stuff that happens over, obviously, Friday, Saturday, Sunday that we're going to have to get to next week. But we're going to continue to go along with what we have planned. So I'm going to crack this. Ooh, that sounded good.
What beer you got tonight?
I'm revisiting my friends from down in Mona Vale. I'm wearing my Manly Warringah shirt tonight. Modus Operandi Brewing Co. And I've got their Apricot and Sea Salt Sour. So that's what I'll be sipping on tonight. Very fresh can there.
I actually found something out this afternoon. So I didn't advertise it much, but me and my partner were together. Me and my partner were together for 6 years on Monday night. And my partner decided while I was at work to go out and pick up a few beers for me that night, and we can have a few drinks. She called up Adam. She said she called you up and you recommended a few craft beers for me. Is that right?
It was more like she texted me going, what are the craft beers that Jared likes?
She said she called you up and you gave her a full look, good on her. She did the right thing. So, look, I would have had the right ones tonight. Yeah, she got Larry's.
There we go.
She got some Larry's. So she did. I would have had them on tonight, but I've actually drunk them all. So
see, look, I gave her the right choice.
Yeah, I was planning. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna thank Adam for doing it on the podcast by bringing the beer on the podcast. But you know what? Shout out to her and shout out to him. It was great, but I wish I could have. But you know, that night I just drank them all.
It's a shame. I've got two in the fridge here, but we're about a 50-minute drive away from each other where we live, so not going to help you out. Shout out to our mates at Your Mates Brewing for Larry, number 4, I believe, in the hottest 100 this year. Beers, so completely off topic, but anyway, we will get back to rugby league. That brings to the end of our intro that we like to do at each episode, and we are on to quick hits and news. So from Wednesday no injuries in the NRL, but worth mentioning, George Burgess, who played 7 years for the Rabbitohs in the NRL, has been granted a release by Wigan as he requires hip surgery. Now, the hip surgery that he requires is quite invasive, in that it seems as though the only person who can perform this operation in the UK is currently in Afghanistan with the military. So it seems as though George Burgess is going to have quite a painful hip until his specialist returns. And either way, it's going to be a 7-month rehab process. So must be a hell of a lot of pain. And for someone who's that big and that much weight to carry, this must be absolute hell for him right now.
Yeah, hip injuries. Not that I know I've had them, but they're the worst. Like, that's the one thing you don't want to hurt because you're always using it. So...
Hey, see, there's our resident Dr. Jared there. I haven't had one, but it hurts like hell and you need your hip.
Well, it's pretty logical, isn't it? You asshole.
I know. That's why
I feel sorry for Burgess over here, and you're just being a wank.
Yeah. With regards to signings, the big ones dropped earlier in the week, but Braden Musgrove down at the Knights has been selected in their top 30 in their senior squad. He's 23-year-old outside back.
Yeah, so a bit of a background on him. He came through the Newcastle system, and then he actually got signed by Penrith. And something happened. He didn't work out for him. Penrith cut him. Or I think he might have requested a release. He went and played local league in Hunter. Again, he started in the grand final last year. For the life of me, I researched it, but I can't remember who he played for. But they won the grand final 20 points to 6, with him being the player of the match.
Maitland Pumpkin Pickers.
Yeah. So possibly there's the Sex Not Goal winners. There's a whole heap of teams. So... And then he's 23 now, bit of a late bloomer. He always had the talent there. I don't know what went wrong for him at Newcastle and Penrith, but now he's back started on a train and trial deal at Newcastle. Now he's going to be on the contract. So good on him. Let's see how he goes. He's supposed to be a pretty big boy. So hopefully he can cover a few spots over the year, injuries, origin, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, not sure where the Penrith bit came from because he just came back to Newcastle from Manly, but Penrith must have been...
Was he Manly, was he?
Yeah.
I thought he...
So he came to Manly from Newcastle and he's gone back.
Sorry.
It's all good. I had to look at that too because he didn't do much for us. Update on Payne Haas, Jared. You're more all over this than I am.
Yeah, so it came out last week that Payne Haas got arrested on, I think it was Saturday night or 2 weeks ago, something like that, verbally abusing police officers. Right now, what is it, a 2-year protection or something like that, new 2-year good behaviour bond, essentially.
Yeah.
Moving forward, that's what he came out of court today. It actually got released what he said. We're not going to repeat it because it is quite graphic about what he said to the cops. Let's just say it wasn't what a role model should be saying, unfortunately. Yeah. But the first thing Adam said, because I actually read out what the quotes were to Adam, the first thing Adam said, it made Kevin Walters' job easier picking a captain for Broncos this year because he will not be captain anymore.
No.
I don't believe he should have been. I don't believe he should have been captain, but despite all that, he was in the running because of his obvious leadership potential and
lack of other candidates.
Yeah, that too. And he is a quality footy player, though. He is quality. He's got a big motor and he's a big boy and he can move. But his attitude needs obviously readjusting, especially if he was on the drink that night. Yeah, so that's another, because that's the second time in 3 years, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So it's a 2-year conditional release order, which avoids any recorded conviction. So you can already see an NRL club going, well, technically he wasn't charged with anything, so there's no reason why he couldn't be a captain. But anyway.
But despite all that,
late for a young prop to be leader as well.
Despite all that, the NRL has not issued their punishment for it, so they could still hand down a punishment. At the very least, he is expected to miss part of the first start of the year, first couple rounds.
From one quote to another, this one's just a bit cheeky. Matt Eisenhuth, who we both thought quite highly of over the last couple of years at West Tigers, is back with Penrith.
Dumbasses.
And not Penrith.
Should not have let him go.
No.
Should not have let him go. Him and his brother.
Yeah, the brother there. But they're talking about, they were interviewing him at Penrith preseason training, and it sounds as though he might have been caught off guard because he was honest and maybe too honest. But a couple of my favourite quotes that came out when asked about Penrith's preseason training. The standard is a lot higher than what I'm used to be fair.
Yeah.
Exciting. The players are just a bit more confident because they know where they've been, and if you're not ready, you get left behind. It's not to say the playing group at the Tigers weren't confident, but winning and playing finals footy breeds confidence. It's enjoyable to come to training, and to be fair, it got a bit unlike that at the Tigers towards the end of the season. I freaking love that. He probably finished the interview and he's like, oh, shit, what did I just say? It's honest.
No, he probably finished interviewing. Half his team from the Tigers probably started ripping into him when they heard it.
Oh, it was fantastic.
Look, the thing about it is, no one knows if he left on good terms at the Tigers. Doesn't sound like he did. But, look, you leave a club, you still talk to 99% of the boys you left the club to. So it'll be the media blowing this up and people like us because we think it's a hilarious thing to say. But I guarantee you the Tigers don't give a shit what he said. Like,
the Tigers don't. I don't think it's a big story. I think it's the teammates at West Tigers. Mates of his are definitely going to have a target on his back. 100%.
But he would have had that anyway.
Yeah.
He would have had that anyway. But
and Ivan Cleary gave him his debut at West Tigers when Cleary was there, so he's happy to link back up with him.
And I guarantee you they will come out in the media 2 days before Tigers and Penrith play.
Oh yeah,
huge. It's going to come out.
It'll be the first Penrith player interviewed. Now, some news that broke earlier in the week. We looked at throwing it on Wednesday night show. We just didn't have time, but two of the expansion bid teams in Brisbane, the Brisbane Bombers, so the city ones, and the Ipswich-based team, or the Western Corridor bid, have joined into
Ipswich
one overall expansion bid. Yeah, based out of Ipswich Jets, but they were calling it the Western Corridor because it was greater Ipswich and surrounding areas. So it's a big move by both syndicates, considering they were trying to get in individually. But strength in numbers, I guess, is what they're going with to try and be the 17th NRL team. And there's more and more certainty around the fact that there will be an expansion team in 2023. It seems to be the year that this is going to be put forward. Peter V'landys has spoken about his preference for there to be a second team in Brisbane around that time. So with two of the syndicates going together, you still got the Redcliffe Dolphins by themselves, who are very strong. The Brisbane Roar are actually playing their home games out of Dolphin Stadium this season. And also the Brisbane Firehawks, who are based out of East Tigers. And they had to change the name from Tigers to Firehawks because there's already a Tigers. So when you put those two bids together, you're now looking at a catchment area including Logan, so southern Brisbane, Ipswich, and Toowoomba. Three very strong rugby league nurseries, breeding grounds, you could call them. It's a smart move. There's obviously going to be hurdles now, what they're going to be called, what a new logo they're going to have to come up with, restart that process again, but better doing that now and trying to make their bid look even stronger or a higher chance of being successful.
I love that. One, because of the fact that I think Broncos will really struggle with another team playing out of the same stadium. And like Adam said, this is going to make a powerhouse a very hard bid to ignore to get a team. The smart money a few months ago was actually on the Firehawks, because they actually came out and branded themselves. Like, they released their own logo, they released everything, like got the business set up, they done everything, put a lot of things in place. But now I don't think they're going to beat what they're going to call themselves. I think it's the Brisbane Jets. Combined themselves. Yeah.
Oh, these two teams, the Brisbane Jets.
Yeah, Brisbane Jets. The thing I'm kind of disappointed about is this. I think that Redcliffe should have an NRL team.
Yeah, I
just think that they've earned it. They've been such a strong club for, they last longer than NRL clubs have. They've been around for however long. I just think they have everything there. They have the sports club. They have the stadium. They have a really good field. It's such an easy thing to do, but this club's come in, and obviously they're the favourites now. This combination of two different ones combining to make one superpower for a bid. But I just feel like Redcliffe have earned the right to be front runners for this. Does that make sense? I
100% agree with that. It's a couple of things. By doing this merger, what the biggest advantage is just playing numbers. So at the moment, the catchment area of Ipswich, Toowoomba and Logan, you're looking at 19,000 players, set to rapidly grow to 1.5 million in 20 years, which is just gross to listen to from my point of view. But anyway.
Yeah, 400 square meters.
Huge growth area of the game. Putting obviously the Brisbane Bombers and Ipswich Jets together is always going to be an aviation theme, hence the Brisbane Jets. But I think one thing the Dolphins still have, I couldn't really draw favoritism, is the fact that they have their own stadium. So this team would be playing out of Suncorp Stadium, although they'd be based in Ipswich.
Yeah.
It's not the closest drive, but Redcliffe having their own stadium there, that's going to prolong the field at Suncorp. Less scheduling issues, you would assume, especially when the Queensland Reds are going to be vying for turf as well. Who knows what Brisbane Roar are going to be doing once they come back after COVID and all that sort of stuff. I still think Redcliffe have got that up their sleeve, that they just put all this.
Yeah.
It's brand new. And the fact that Redcliffe obviously don't have the same catchment area as the others, but they've got North Brisbane and Sunshine Coast. Outside of the Falcons feeder club for Melbourne. That's a huge area of people. Caboolture, Morayfield, very strong rugby league areas.
No, it's not.
Over time.
No, I'm just kidding.
Jeez. We've just had some nasty matches against them in the past. How are you laughing at that?
Oh, mate, I just remember you said strong. They are not strong.
Over time, they have been.
No, they won an A-grade premiership in about 10 years.
I don't care about A-grade premierships. We're talking about fit grounds, breeding of talent,
exactly.
all that
That's
sort
where
of
you're
stuff.
supposed to. That's where they get them. A-grade local.
Yeah, they're not going to stay there.
Yeah, but you pull them out of the local A-grade. You're not going to pull them out of local C-grade, Com.
If you're playing local A-grade, you've missed your chance of getting scouted.
Where do you think they just picked up Braden
Unless
Musgrove
you're playing but he's been in NRL systems before he went back to play A-grade. They already knew who.
Yeah, but they picked him on the form of playing A-grade. Did they not?
I don't know. I don't care.
We just talked about a guy who just got picked up from an A-grade grand final. And he was a star at the A-grade, and then
he's already played in 2 NRL systems. Like,
doesn't matter.
He was, and he got cut, and they said, keep tabs on him in case he gets better. It's a completely different story.
He's playing the same level Caboolture is.
I reckon if we looked it up, 90% of NRL players never would have played A-grade for any club. They would have just been picked up earlier than that and gone straight through feeder clubs into NRL.
I ever told you the story about how Wayne Bennett picked up Shane Webke?
Yes, that was
you
a lucky one, like 30-something years ago now.
Yeah, and they'll both play. Him and Steve Price were playing A grade against each other. Wayne Bennett went to look at Steve
They weren't
Price.
playing A grade. It was
Yeah, they were. They played under 19s in the grand final, and then they stepped up and came off the bench in A grade.
Well, there you go.
In the Toowoomba comp. So, yes, there's two of the best front rowers in the history of the game.
There you go. Jared's analysis against mine. 2 players compared to, I'll put up like 10.
Oh, no, that is 2 legitimate examples.
No, I know. I still have Redcliffe in front, but this is a huge move by these two. The one thing I want with this one is the Walker brothers to be the coach. That'd be awesome.
See, I like the flow-on effect of what happens to the NRL when this happens. So obviously there's the obvious impact on the Broncos because, you know, that's Broncos have had a stranglehold on up to probably Bundaberg in the NRL in Queensland, Bundaberg East and South. They've had the stranglehold of anything north of that's North Queensland. But this affects Newcastle. This affects Melbourne. This will bolster Falcons in the Q Cup because Newcastle are linked with Ipswich Jets. Melbourne are linked with East Tigers. So, and the Falcons, because the East Tigers will be going into this together, the Falcons will bolster.
No, East Tigers are the Firehawks.
Are they? Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't worry about that one then. But yeah, so that leaves the Falcons alone. But yeah, it's a flow-on effect to all the other NRL clubs because they've all got links to these guys. And then obviously the Broncos because the Q Cup was just a feeding ground for every single of Broncos essentially. That was all the teams were linked with Broncos until I think it was early 2000s. A New South Wales team picked up a Q Cup team, then dropped them. And then I think Manly picked up Sunshine Coast. And then the NRL forced them to drop them. And now Melbourne and Newcastle. And I think the Warriors are linked with a team as well.
Warriors are Dolphins. Redcliffe.
Yeah. So a lot of other teams are coming in and going, look, there's a whole competition here that Broncos have got a stranglehold on that we can pick apart, which they have. So this is going to send a whole shockwave for a lot of NRL teams right now because, yeah, if it's with Jets combining NRL, that loses Newcastle's partnership with it.
It could do, but I think we're getting a bit far ahead. There's still no. It will be a Brisbane team. We still don't know which one it will be.
Whatever decision gets made, an NRL team gets affected by it. You know what I mean?
And then 2023, here comes Perth, and that's how it's going to
go. Bloody hell! I hope not.
Indigenous All Stars matches on February 20. So 16 sleeps away when we recorded, about a week and a half, Sunday night. So teams have been named, 20 per team. We've got Laurie Daly coaching the Indigenous All Stars there. We've got David Kidwell coaching the Maori All Stars. And the curtain raiser, we have the Indigenous Women's All Stars and the Maori Women's All Stars. Now, there were the dramas with those with regards to player flight restrictions, travel restrictions, with the travel bubble being placed on New Zealand and Australia. Having issues again, placed on hold for 72 hours, but they still have enough women to make that match work. They've got 18 rather than the squad of 20, and they're still both pretty strong squads. But we'll run through the Indigenous All-Stars. There's 3 extras, so it's a 20-person team instead of 17, as it's a trial game, and they haven't played since last season. So Indigenous Stars, which one do you want to do? You do Indigenous, I'll do Maori.
So, obviously, Latrell Mitchell's playing fullback. Blake Ferguson and Josh Addo-Carr's in the wing. Jack White and Jesse Ramian in the centres. That is a strong back 5. Like, Jesus Christ. Cody Walker, Jamal Fogarty in the halves.
Yeah.
Other than Fogarty, that's an entire New South Wales backline. Andrew Fafita, Ruben Cotter, and Josh Kerr in the front row, with David Fafita, Wade Graham, and Tyrone Peachy in the back row. Then on the bench, you got Alex Johnson, Jermaine Tanua-Brown. Oh, he is Kiwi, Indigenous. I was surprised by that. Cade Cass, Chris Smith, Tyrell Fui Maiono, Josh Curran, and Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
So I think a couple of weeks ago, me and Adam actually picked our squads.
Yeah, I'd make 3 changes there.
Yeah. We both agreed that this backline for Indigenous is lethal. Like, that is a scary thing to come up against.
And I'd still make changes to it.
Oh, most likely. But either way, you can put, like, Latrell, Mitchell, Jack Wyden can both play in the halves. Cody Walker can play fullback. Like, you can just interchange everyone around just to give everyone a go. Like, I really like. I would want to come up with that background. That's just athletic right there. Athletic and speed.
All the players want to play in this game. I do feel a bit for Brian Kelly, though. He should be a starter considering he had the best season.
Yeah, I think he deserves it over Ramian after the seasons they both had.
I'd put Kelly straight into centres, put Jack Whiten at 5'8", and put Cody Walker on the bench, because I don't see what the hell. Why would you put Alex Johnson on the bench unless you're going to switch like an entire winger out and Johnson goes in over Ferguson? So
they've actually got a 5'8",
Kelly,
and a winger and a centre on the bench. So
so they might just switch up a whole back line. But awesome to see Ruben Cotter in there. Awesome to see Josh Kerr get a starting spot this year as well. Maori All-Stars. You got Charles Nickel-Clockstad at fullback, Dallin Wateni Zalesniak, and Remius Smith on the wings with Joseph Manu and Dylan Walker in the centres. Hopefully a precursor for us Manly fans of what's going to happen later in the year. Jerome Luai and...
Why is Dylan Walker... is Dylan Walker Maori? I didn't know that.
Jerome Luai and Jerome Hughes in the halves. Jesse Bromwich, James Fisher-Harris, props with Brandon Smith playing hooker. Brighton Okora, Kenny Bromwich, and Joseph Tarpany, second row and lock. That's a fun forward pack. Lots of pace, lots of size. Jeremy Marshall-King, Kevin Proctor, Nelson Asafa-Solomona, Jordan Rickey, Patrick Herbert, Bailey Simonson, and Benji Marshall on the bench. So they've gone with 2 outside backs and a half, and 4 forwards, or 3 forwards and a hooker on the bench. So a fair bit of flexibility there. Mary's definitely stronger forward pack, more mobile forward pack, but Indigenous had the stronger back line.
I think the difference is I rate the Mary's halves better. Luai and Hughes, I think that's a better combination. I don't think their kicking game's overly flash with those two there, but there we go. You know you're a strong forward pack when Nelson Asafa Solomoni can't crack the starting forward pack.
Or Kevin Proctor.
Yeah, that's nuts. Like, Kevin Proctor, Asafa Solomoni, and Jordan Rickey could walk onto a lot of teams or a lot of rep teams in their forward pack, and they couldn't even make that's strong.
And in saying that, they might not play a minute of the first half, yet they'll play the whole second half, switch people at halftime. Who knows? But
it is a trial game, but
if it's half as good as last year's with the intro and the war dances and the music, it's going to be. It was one of the best nights of the season last year. The Indigenous Women's All-Stars, Jamie Chapman at fullback, Talina Simon on one wing with Letitia Quinlan on the other, Jasmine Peters, Monique Donovan in the centres, Taylor Fui Maiono and Kira Kelly, in the halves, Caitlin Phillips, Caitlin Johnson are the props with Quincy Dodd at hooker, Shania Power, Shaylee Bent, Leisha Harden, a second row and lock, Laylee Phillips, Keely Joseph, Olivia Kernick, Abley Stanley, and Neglika, if I've really botched that, Barker on the bench, and they're coached by Ian Burke. So a couple of stars in here being Shaylee Bent and Shania Power there in the second row. And really also interested to see how Taylor Fui Maiono goes at 5'8" as well.
Yeah, so what was that, the women's? Because I don't have the women's team in front of me right now.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. That's all right. Maori Women's All-Stars, Corbin McGregor at fullback with, I'm really sorry, I'm going to butcher some of these names, Batilli Vetti Welsh, Jodasai Nicholson on the wings with Amy Turner and Hayley Tapine in the centres, Zahara Tamara, Crystal Tamura in the halves with Nita Maynard, Maya Hill Moana. As props, Kennedy Cherrington, absolute beast of a player at hooker. Zali Ife, Rona Peters, and Lavina Gould, a second row and lock. Shannon Marto, Racine McGregor, Roxy Murdoch, Paige McGregor, and Shanice Parker make up the bench. I love watching Kennedy Cherrington play. She plays above her weight. She's ferocious. She's fast. She's just an awesome player to watch. They're coached by Keith Hanley. So tickets are still available from $25 for adults, $50 from families at nrl.com/tickets. All Sun matches will be broadcast live on Nine Network, Fox League, Sky New Zealand, digital platforms, Nine Now, and KO Sports in Australia. Woo! That's the end of our segment, all of our news, etc., etc. We'll be right back at you after this quick break with our pre-season analysis of the Brisbane Broncos, North Queensland Cowboys, and Gold Coast Titans. All right, here we go. Our 2021 pre-season analysis of all 16 teams. Our first episode, we're going to be covering Broncos, Cowboys, and Titans, looking at 7 key points for each of the teams, including our chosen round 1 lists. And we'll cover what that means when we get to them. So we're starting with the Brisbane Broncos, established 1987, 6 premierships, 1 shiny wooden spoon from last year. They're going in 2021 with Captain Alex Glenn. Their 2020 season, they finished 16th, 6 points, which are 3 wins, 17 losses. Their worst finish in club history. Lingering effects from last year. Is the fear factor of Suncorp Stadium gone or Lang Park gone? I would say it is for most teams and players. They don't really fear going there anymore. That's going to take a bit of time for the Broncos to get back. But I think the big thing from last year was a lack of leadership, both on the field, from their coaching ranks, and in the boardroom. New CEO this year, new coach this year. Similar players, a couple coming back. More veterans rather than shiny new pieces. This can be also attributed to poor recruitment over the last few years as well, and not holding on to the young stars they've developed. So I think we spent enough time on it saying they completely underachieved last year, and a lot of it was shooting themselves in the foot. Luckily, they've learned from their lessons, Payne Haas. So I was looking at the finish for a last.
That was a slight dig.
He puts himself up for it. If you're a Broncos fan, you can stop listening. When I was looking at the stats from last year, this kind of stood out. Points for 268. Points against 621. Both of them were last in those categories. Their average winning margin when they did win was 9.5 points. And their average loss margin was 23. So when they lost, they got belted on average. And when they won, it was by 1.5 converted tries. Now, to put that in context, they only scored 30 more points all season than Penrith let in. So if you think about that, Penrith's defense let in 268 points. Broncos scored 238. Oh, sorry, the other way around. 268 for Broncos, 238 by Penrith. Like, that's scary.
That's not on.
That's not on. So that takes us on to the off-season. So Broncos ins, while there are a few, we'll put an asterisk there. These are all for 2021 only, so no multi-year deals here. John Asiata from the Cowboys, Dale Copley from the Titans, David Mead from Super League, I believe, and Isaiah Tess, who's on a development contract. Mackay Product, being down in the Bulldogs system. Senna, 94 kilos, 184 centimetres, 21-year-old. And a quote from Kevin Walters with regard to Isaiah Tess. He has skills you can't coach. And we're happy with that, as you would be as a coach. So if you hear an experienced coach say something like that, they may have a special player there, although he didn't get much of a run on the Bulldogs. We'll see what he does with the Broncos. Outs, Jack Bird, injury-riddled career at the Broncos. Big one being David Fafita. Sean O'Sullivan's gone to the Warriors. Joe Fengawi's gone to the Tigers. Isaiah Parisi has gone to Union, and Darius Boyd has retired.
Hallelujah.
Yes. So the big in, I guess, would be John Asiata from the Cowboys, and the biggest out there would be David Fafita. All right. Number 3, third point, their coach, Kevin Walters. So put forward your opinions based on for Kevin Walters. Jared, what do you reckon they're going to bring to the table?
I've said this before. I hope he does well. He was rejected from a lot of clubs for whatever reason. I don't know. He was rejected from the Broncos, even though he was considered the heir apparent to Wayne Bennett back in there. I don't know why. I hope he does well. His coaching record is the highest standard at State of Origin is not flash. He's lost 2 series in a row.
He's 50-50 in State of Origin.
Has he won one, has he? No, he lost the 2.
No, he's won 6 games. He's lost 6 games.
Oh, but he's lost the series. He's lost 2.
And won 2.
Either way, there's a reason. I just want to know the reason people keep saying no to it. Like, he's finally got this job, and I hope he does well. But if he does bad, he's going to be crucified, because he's the guy who's going to bring back the Broncos from the old days. That's what everyone came down and said. You know, you got to get Broncos back to between 88 and 2006, their winning culture. And he won 6 premierships with them, pretty sure. No, he won 4. Sorry, 2 with Canberra. Something like that. Like I said, I do hope he does well. I just have that in the back of my mind every time I think of Walters. Why was he rejected from so many clubs? Like, he had the same apprenticeship as a lot of coaches. Like, he worked on the Bellamy and Bennett as a assistant coach in Melbourne Broncos. You know, everyone who comes out of the system usually turns out to be a pretty good coach, but the big thing is everyone who comes out of those 2 systems usually have their pick of who they want to coach.
Yeah. Like
when Stephen Kearney came out, he picked Adam O'Brien's a good example. He picked Michael Maguire. He came from the same kind of thing. They picked, but he's a different one. He's the strange one that he applied, and I think about 4 clubs said no to him. So I want to know that. That's the only. It's not a criticism. The only doubt I have, really. There's a reason they said no. So I hope he does well. So when we get to the teams, Oh, sorry.
I was just going to go for each coach. I've got their stats and their journey. So his only professional coach in Australia has been the Queensland Origin team, 16, 17, 18, 19, 12 matches, win 6, lost 6. So his first coaching year was Toowoomba Clydesdales. Then he became an assistant for Wayne Bennett at the Broncos. 2005, Wayne Bennett did a clean out, which included Walters. Became the head coach of the Ipswich Jets. Then he went over to the Super League with Catalans, took them to the prelim final in the first year. So he was there for 9-10, 63 games, 25 wins, 38 losses, so 40%. Melbourne Storm assistant coach under Craig Bellamy, 2014, halves coach under Wayne Bennett at the Broncos, then became an assistant with Stephen Kearney, and then 2015 to 19 with the Queensland Maroons, and we are here. So as Jared said, he's worked under Bellamy, he's worked under Bennett. He's had overseas experience. It's time he has his shot. Like, when you look at some of the other coaches,
right.
He's got more experience than Justin Holbrook did when Holbrook got his first gig. So,
same with Adam O'Brien, 100%.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I think it's the right pick. I'm not 100% certain yet. Brisbane and Queensland legend is a pro, but it's also a con. Does that mean he's going to walk in with rose-colored glasses and say, oh, I remember this place is so good, it's great to be back, rah-da-rah? Or will he see what is missing from when it was good? So how do you think the team's going to play under him?
Okay, so under him, I think under his apprenticeships have been under Bellamy and Bennett. I think that those two coaches come out with styles that are very basic, really rugged, grinding teams. That's what Melbourne and Payne have flary players when they create that opportunity to be flary, which Bellamy and Bennett are known for. So, Bennett's always been kick to the corners attack, but then he gives it to players like Langer and stuff like that to create something out of nothing. That's what Broncos are based off. They're hard, tough defense, but flary when they need to. It's exactly the same as Bellamy. But the part that interests me, he done well over the Super League, which is a pass the ball, very outlandish play of rugby league over in the Super League. That's how they play over there. It's very back to like end-to-end footy where they kick past, do all kinds of fun stuff. Adam actually prefers watching Super League just because it's a lot more fun. So that he's got to mix them both because he's got such a young team at the Broncos that if he doesn't let them loose when they can, they're going to get bored and stale, which happened last year. Seabold, by the looks of it, put too many structures in their place, and they just didn't have any like play. You know what I mean? Like they didn't really have any expanse.
So pretty much the game. Three, you just without any prompt, you just covered literally the 3 dot points I had. I had them play the basics, build pressure through game control, and be more creative in attack. You'd hope. Yeah, I put in brackets. So what we'd plan to do is put forward our round 1 team. So when you're putting a team together, we're just going to cover this now. You can pick the best team they can put on paper, which will more than likely in the NRL season happen maybe once, if not maximum 4 times. If you're lucky, there's always going to be injuries. You can put forward a predicted round 1 team that you expect the coach to pick based on history, etc., or you can pick the round 1 team you would select and what you'd like to see. And that's what I've done over the 3, and Jared's done kind of a hybrid between the best squad available, obviously then minus injury casualties or suspension casualties for round 1. So I expect us to have variations because...
Oh, we're going to have variations.
Yeah, we look at things completely differently. So Jared's going to go off with his round 1 team, who he sees as the Broncos' best starting 13. And we'll go from there.
Okay. So the first one out of the block, you're gonna laugh. But I reckon he's had a rough time in the 3-4 years he's played. When he came on the scene, he was a winger. I really think he's got the ability to be a great fullback, and that's Jermaine Osako. I think that he could do a lot better than what's been given to him. The biggest criticism I have, he's got to improve his ball playing. But I think if you give him a year or 2 and go, mate, this is your number 1 jersey. Because I think the back 3 at Broncos have changed around so much last year. No one felt settled. So I reckon you need to give him a decent amount of time at fullback because he's quick enough, he's big enough, he's got all the physical attributes he can catch. So I really want him to have a decent crack at fullback.
I agree with everything there, and I don't think it's his fault his ball playing's bad. That's the club's job. When they're young, it's their job to develop these skills. If he developed in the player, it's because the club hasn't coached them the right way or developed them the right way. I reckon run through your team, and I'll just go through and tick off or cross off mine. We can talk about the ones we...
Okay, the wingers are
Sarko's the same for me.
Coates and Oates, they're the wingers for me. Centers are Staggs, but he's injured, so I got Tessie New in the center. Herbie Farnsworth, the other center. I've actually got Croft and Dearden in the halves. Croft at 5'8". I really like that idea. Front row, I've got Lodge and McCulloch. I think he needs to start. I think they need that old head in the middle of the field with Haas in the front. Then I've got Pengai, Asiata, and Carrigan. Yeah. So my bench is Jake Turpin because he can play anywhere. And then I've got Ricky, Teo, and Glenn. Unfortunately, Flegler and Milford don't make this squad. But I really like that because it shows the depth that Broncos have. Like, they have a good team. You look through their 30. I really like their 30. Like, I'd be happy if I was Kevin Walters. I'd be happy to walk in and try and coach this team because they've got, speed, size in their out back five. Their halves are strong. Like, they've got depth and they can play. Well, let's say strong, but they've got depth and they can play there. And their forward pack. Like, even their loss for feeder, they've got a strong forward pack. And I think bringing Asiata in there that's a great signing.
We didn't actually defer on that many positions. I think overall we've got a similar style that we like watching and we like seeing coaches employ. I think out of your 17, I had 16 of them. Sorry, 15 of them, but in different situations. So yeah, I think in our starting 13, there's only 2 changes, and we'll go through. Yeah, so I agree with pretty much everything. I'm just cracking another. Yeah, sorry guys. California Love by Black Hops out of the Gold Coast.
How do you keep changing beers? Like, I have to stick with the
West
same
Coast
one.
IPA. Well, when you have a sour, it like cleanses the palate. It's kind of just, I wouldn't say it's like having a water, but it allows you to go back to just normal and go on anything from there.
Okay.
And this one's a completely different style. West Coast IPA. Hazy IPAs are the big thing in Australia at the moment. So this is more like an old school style. So should be pretty full on and bitter, and looking forward to it. I had everything the same. The players that I was missing from my 17 that you had in were Corey Oates. I couldn't find a spot for Corey Oates. I think he's just gone too far backwards the last 2 years, both trying to change position and some pretty unlucky injuries. I think he's going to take at least a few rounds to get his feet under him, and the fact that he's been training pretty much all preseason in the second row.
I hate that.
17. So I don't think they picked up someone like Dale Copley not to play him, and the fact that they've got such a young back line, they need someone there who isn't as quick as he used to be, but he's always been a good reader of the game, even if his legs can't get him there. And if he's got someone like Herbie Farnworth outside him who is quick, who has quick feet, I think that should be all right. So I've got a Sarko, Xavier Coates, Herbie Farnworth, Tessie New, and Dale Copley as my back 5. Obviously, Katoni Staggs would be there in place of most likely Copley to me in that back 5, and that'd be the Broncos back 5 moving forward.
It's a very lethal back 5 either way. I really like. I wouldn't
it's
want to.
It's lethal but inexperienced. Like, I think you look at Penrith's back 5 last year, it's similar, but I also think Penrith's back 5 and how it all came together with all being so young is an aberration compared to generally how things work. It'd be interesting if it would happen in another club. I agree. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I just love the fact we both don't have Milford.
No. The only spot I would look at putting Milford would be fullback. And then that's the thing that he doesn't have there is the ability to compete for the high ball, which is becoming more and more more used as an attacking.
I think I think his biggest deterrent for playing fullback is his fitness. Like we talked about.
I never worry about fitness with players. I think it's too.
I do. Like Milford.
I don't think fitness is overrated. I think the people call it out to be more than it is sometimes.
Well, let's put it this way. There's a reason the last 10 years that Slater and Tedesco are the best fullbacks, and they've been the fittest in the one of the fittest in the competition. Yeah,
Milford's never was.
But he has that attacking ability those guys have. I touched on the fact that Broncos came back underdone after the COVID break. They were the worst of it.
Yeah, but
he was the worst of the Broncos.
Yeah,
he was 100% the worst.
Yeah,
that when he's unfit, he can't do what he did because his last incredible season was 2015, and before that is when he played for Canberra. And both those times he was fit. Like, he was lean, he was fit, and he made him quicker, made him more explosive, and he was able to do it in the the 36th minute and the 72nd minute. Like, these games for the last 15 minutes, he was nowhere near the ball last year for those times. But
there was 16 people around him doing the same thing. Well, 15.
I know,
take out Carrigan.
When he's on $1 million a year, like, he should be leading it. And that's what I think Walter's got to say to him, mate, you got to earn your spot. You've got to earn the right to be in that 17. And I don't think after last year he earned to be in the 17. He was my biggest criticism out of the Broncos, and I had a lot of criticism for him.
See, I think he played horribly, but I think any player in his position would have done the same thing with no go forward and no defense and nothing in front of him to work off. Croft was a prime example. Payne Haas, Lodge starting props, Jake Turpin starting hooker, because if you're going to go the future in the back line, you got to go the future at hooker as well. McCulloch's not going to offer you anything with regards to attack. At least Turpin will. Tavita Payne guy in the second row, and the hardest position to pick was lock, because they didn't pick Asiata to play second row, I don't think. To me, he doesn't have the... He's got so many skills in the game, but running a hole and a line is not one that is high on his list. He can still do it, but he's not a Matt Gillette style or a reason why I've put him in a Jordan Ricky style player who can hit and explode through the hole. He's much more suited to the lock with the quick footwork and step around rather than run through. So yeah, I've got Ricky as second row. I've got Asiata on the bench as my utility kind of forward. Alex Glenn, only because he's the captain, is on my bench. I've got Ethan Bullimore, so they have a prop on the bench, and with McCulloch as a guy.
So you don't have McCulloch. You don't have Flegler or Carrigan.
No, I've got Carrigan at lock. I've got Carrigan at lock.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I got Asiata on the bench. Flegler, yeah. I think Bullimore has more to offer. Honestly, to me at this stage, I've got Milford as my 18th man. He'd come in instead of McCulloch on the bench as a utility, depending if Walters believes Turpin needs cover. But then what I did also for each team, I wasn't planning on doing this, but then I wrote a depth chart. And I'm looking at the names that I've got on my Broncos depth. Ben Teo, Corey Oates, Tom Flegler, David Mead, Corey Pakes, Jesse Arthurs, and Isaiah Tass, who we met. Like, there's no elite players there, but there's good enough players who can come in and play at NRL standard in a majority of positions if required.
Yeah, and the disappointing thing about that is if Broncos don't do well this year, like Adam said, they've got NRL standard who can't crack the 17, which is great for them. If they don't do well this year, those NRL standard players not getting the game in a bad team are not going to be playing will get picked up by other clubs next year. That's the disappointing thing for them, because if they don't do well, no one's going to stay.
Right.
So
I found this the hardest of the three Queensland teams to pick, only because how bad they were last year, outside of literally Carrigan, there wasn't and Xavier Coates in the second half of the year. There wasn't anyone else who's earned a starting spot, honestly.
Oh, I'd say Haas did. He had a crack.
He had a crack, but he was caught out a lot of times through the middle.
Yeah, but I think
that showed up in Origin.
Yeah, but that's why I don't think he should be captain. He got treated bad, for me, Not because we started at the start of the year and said that he shouldn't have been playing 80 minutes. He was burnt out.
And he wasn't. He was playing way less.
Yeah, no, at the end of the year he was. He realised that he's only playing... He put him on for like 55, 60 at the end of the year, but at the start of the year he was playing 80. Which didn't cover... But by the end of the season, he was still having defensive lapses. But this is why I don't think he should be captain yet. Because he needs a really good old front rower right next to him. Imagine if he had James Graham next to him. How much he would learn from him about how to play football. That's what he needs next to him. And unfortunately, he's just not getting that right now.
Yeah, learn the best pharmacies to get Vaseline.
But, like, you know, Broncos have had Lazarus, Webke, Sivana Seaver, Brad Fawn, Tony Carroll, so many elite front rowers and, you know, forwards. They just haven't had that in the last couple of years, and they've got them coming through. But if they just had that one old head there, I think that would really benefit them like a lot.
So 8 of the 20 games last year, Haas played 80 minutes. 8 of the 20.
That would have been the first 8 too, probably.
First 3.
Yep.
And then round 5, 10, 11, 13 and 17. There are a couple of in there as well. So who's your player to watch this year? So we
them?
This isn't there. This could be who's the key player for you, or who's the player you're most excited to watch, or who's the player you think will have the biggest improvement. You preface it before you say who it is.
Biggest improvement? I reckon Asako.
Well, I mean, just pick one player, but tell us who why they're your player to watch this year.
Because I think if he gets promised that one jersey this year, I think he has the ability to be a breakout star. I know he's played a few years, but really realize his potential and be a valuable member of that squad. I really think he has that ability to, you know, push for fullback of the year at Dally M's. That's how high I rate Asako. He's very good. You know, obviously not Tedesco level, but, you know, being the top 5 fullbacks in the competition.
So I think you've got his ceiling higher than I'd have his ceiling. But I really like your choice. I also think he showed enough last year in a bad team, not consistently, but in glimpses, that talent. The talent is there. He just needs someone to be able to nurture his talent and assist in his development and actually, give him consistency in the jersey.
Like, Lockie is there. Send him down to training. Send Lockie, like...
I wouldn't.
Right. Okay.
Actually, no, that might make sense. Get him out of the front office because the crap he's pulling up there is not working.
Who's yours?
I picked Jordan Ricky, but I had to do a little bit of research on him because obviously his step and runaway try towards the end of the last season showed that. I think one of the comments said, "Who's David Fafita when you got this guy?" I was like, "Yeah, but so many players have done that." So I had to look at some highlights when he was playing Q Cup and that sort of stuff. This guy looks impressive, eh? Not just in bursts. 190 centimeters, 106 kilos. And I watched maybe about 10 to 12 minutes of just highlights. And when it's just highlights, that's actually a lot of different plays. But things I picked up, he runs with the ball in 2 hands almost to the line, not jogging his way up like a 5'8" would. And defenders have to sit off him because he's got an inside ball and he's got an outside ball. Both short, but he's got balls on each side, so he provides options. He was playing on both edges, and he has a side step off both feet. I thought it was just a left-footed step. That's because he was only on the left edge and he was stepping inside. But then when they put him on the right edge, he was doing the same off his right foot. So, and it's not a slow step. It's a step you'd expect a centre to be able to make. And his whole body moves quickly. It's quite impressive for someone of his size. He's got a right-hand flick offload, and he's quite good at support play. So when halfbacks and fullbacks were making breaks, he was usually the second or third one there in front of some of the centres. So looking at that, that's a it's a really impressive package, and he was displaying that at Q Cup level. And I don't watch enough Q Cup to have seen it during the season. But if even half those skills can translate to the NRL, they're still going to miss Fafita, but this will go a long way to filling that hole if this kid's development continues to go as it shows. But I'm quite keen to see how he goes this year.
Yeah, so he's always has the talent. I feel like a really talented kid like that with all those skills, again, just needs those old heads around him to keep him in line. Because obviously, we touched on what Haas did in the weekend, and that's like the second time in 3 years. I don't think that would have been as publicly tolerated at the Broncos or Melbourne or any successful team, like coming back into that. You know what I mean? Like, and he's a senior member of that team. So I hope Ricky doesn't go down that path. I hope he stays on the, I'm going to get better and better and better and just work on my skills, and then, you know, be a breakout star. He obviously has the potential to do, because if you're thinking your top shit off the field, that's going to make your game like suffer. And
obviously, if he doesn't kick on early, Glenn can start in the second row. And I still do think Glenn will start in the second row when the Broncos pick their squad, and Ricky will be on the bench most likely. But I'd give him the crack early. What do the Broncos have to do this year that they didn't do last year to have more success? And we're not allowed to just say everything.
No, they just got to go back and play to their strengths. So they've got the forward pack that can trouble a lot of teams. So they've got to play, but they've got to play down and dirty football, like basic football, get out of your own end.
The basic start of sets. I'm just ticking off the things that I've got that you say.
Yeah, so they got to do that. But then when they get the opportunity, I think the biggest thing is seize their moments. So when they get the opportunity, give the ball to Stags, give it to Coates, let Asako put someone in a hole, that kind of stuff. That's what they need to do. They need to be confident in when they do that stuff. But the biggest thing is, don't drop their heads when it fucks up.
Yeah, attitude.
Yeah, like when there is a mistake made, because I'm pretty sure that's what happened last year. Every time they made a mistake, their heads got dropped. The other team ran 70 meters down the field, scored. Like, this kept happening in a vicious circle. If they try something that doesn't work, and again, this is where the old head comes in and goes, "All right, boys, we're all good. Defend now, and we'll try again in 10 minutes' time." Something like that. That's what they need. Some steel in them. Like, when something goes wrong, okay, it's fine.
4 of the 5 things that I had down here, you've mentioned, and I think Kevin Walters is a good person to bring in for that, which is fix the kicking game, which will allow you to build pressure.
Yeah.
And you earn the right to a kicking game if you get back to basics and make less mistakes. That all comes down to attitude at training, attitude in the game. And I think Asako at fullback, Coates, Farnworth are going to be able to give you the start to the sets that you need that they didn't have last year. They're all basic points, but they're all basic things the Broncos did not do last year, hence why they finished where they were. All right, to finish the Broncos off for 2021, you don't have to give a specific position yet because we're still a month and a bit out. We haven't seen trial games, etc. But an approximate prediction of their 2021 ladder position.
With their potential?
No. Where do you think they will?
Yeah. Okay. Between 4 and 8.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, they have the team for it. That's what people are so just going on last year's results. I believe they're good. Their team is good enough to make the bottom half of the top 8. I honestly do. They're good enough.
I'm putting that down as Jared's hot take.
Yeah, bloody hell. It annoys me that people forgetting how quality. Xavier Coates is one of the best players in that Origin series. He came up against a New South Wales team full of Aussie players, and he won. Like, he put a good foot forward. Katoni Staggs, you can't speak more highly, but you put him and Bradman Best up against each other, best young centers in the competition. It's great.
Yeah, Coates would have loved having Munster and Cherry Evans inside him, and then Gagai giving him the ball. That would have been tough. Oof.
Yeah. Come on, he done
Compare
well.
that to Croft, Durden. Yeah, I know he did really well, but it's in a different. I've got them improving out of sight, and I've got them finishing in the bottom 4. I seriously do. I think they're 2-3 years away from getting back to where they need to be. Yes, I 100% agree. They've got talent all over the park, but I don't think they've got the players with the skill to get them the ball when they need it. Consistently. I think the Broncos will blow a couple of teams off the park this year, but I don't think it's going to occur enough for them to be.
Our next team is Gold Coast.
Okay, I'll change my pages.
No, is it? Sorry. One of the teams we're doing tonight is Gold Coast.
Yes.
If you go, because me and Adam go one-on-one, like fullback versus fullback, winger versus winger, who wins? Everyone's expecting the Gold Coast to make the 8 this year. Broncos have a better team. Yeah. Overall, across the park, they have a better team. But everyone's expecting Gold Coast to make the team. In their backline, like forward pack's probably a bit even, but backline, Jesus Christ, Broncos shit all over them. Yeah. So
I don't know what that's based on, but I'd still have a champion team over a team of champions. Like look at Origin last year. Do you want to go Titans last year, or do you want to go Titans or Cowboys?
That was a good call. Go Cowboys.
All right. Okay. I'll turn back my pages then. Okay. So North Queensland Cowboys established 1995, 1 premiership, 3 wooden spoons. Captains this year will be James Tamalalo and Michael Morgan. The 2020 finish was 14th, 5 wins and 15 losses to give them 10 points. Their average winning margin was 14.5 points, which is decent. So to give it a try.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, their average losing margin was 13.5 points. So only 1 point difference. So
when they won, you knew they won, but when they lost, you knew they lost too.
Yeah, if you look at them both here, that's a 28-point swing each game. You go from 14 up to 14 down, literally week to week. And that kind of puts the Cowboys season in a nutshell. 520 points against was the second worst defense in the league after the Broncos, which I didn't know until I looked that up. So thoughts on their 2020 season?
I don't want to blame Green for all this, but I feel like stale's the word.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's just Green's fault. There is other, like he can't dictate everything, and he can't dictate their attitudes to a point. And that's what the best way to describe them, they were just boring and they weren't trying anything, even though they've got so much talent in that squad. I think it was you or Billy said in the last podcast that SN Masters came from the Tigers. He was explosive. He was dangerous. He looks so lost out there. He looks like he was not sure of where to go next. And he's a player that you need to give the ball and not have a plan for him. Just let him create havoc. Yeah. Just give him the ball early and go, mate, have fun. And there's the guy you got to get past.
Even though they finished above the Broncos, I thought the Cowboys were more disappointing as a unit than the Broncos did, because they didn't have the off-field dramas that the Broncos did, and they still played this badly with, I think, more talent than the Broncos had. So I think the biggest thing was, like you said, they were stale. They never gelled throughout the season. I went back and looked at their 20 games last year. They had a 9-game losing streak, and their largest winning streak was 3 games. James Tamalolo and Michael Morgan were injured at different times, and then at the same time, which didn't help. the upsides, Reece Robson, great pickup. Scott Drinkwater, great pickup. Esam Masters, huge disappointment, but he's still there. So they're in. Now, this is they've got some really interesting players. So
can you just talk about their big in first? Their biggest in's Todd Payton.
Lachlan Burr. Oh, no, we got a whole thing on Todd Payton. But yeah, Michael Bell, development contract. Centre, got him for development contract. Kane Bradley's car is 196 centimetres and 107 kilos. He's came up from the West Tigers as part of a trade. He's signed on until 2022. That's a big body to put on the wing. Lachlan Burr from the Warriors. Todd Payton would have jumped at the chance to sign him. This guy I'm kind of really excited about. Helium Lukey signed on just for 2021 to the top squad. You've got Ira, he's a second rower. You got Iwira Nanai, 2021. He's only 17. He'll play for the Northern Pride in the second row. And then Griffin Niami, 2021. Now, he's a prop that the Cowboys picked up through their New Zealand Academy, and he's going to be playing for the Townsville Blackhawks this year. And all three of those players I did a bit of research and looked at their background, where they've played, their attributes. I don't think Irawira is going to crack the top squad this year, the fact that he's only 17. But Griffin and Helium, I think it's Helium, that's how it's spelled. I think they've got a chance towards the end of the season to crack it, and they're both really exciting young prospects. All three of them are actually for the Cowboys. So the future's looking up if they reach their potential. So outs, John Asiata, I still can't get my head around the fact that they would not offer him more. No,
I think he wanted that 13. And he was never going to get that 13 with Jason Tamalolo there.
I don't think he's going to get the Broncos either, but we'll see.
That's all that is, I reckon.
Yeah, Tom Opachic's the Eels, didn't work out for him up there. Tuka Mia Simpkins, he was in that trade to the Tigers that brought Bradley the other way. Dan Russell, Garrett Smith released, and Gavin Cooper has retired. So Todd Payton, debut as a debutant in the head coaching ranks outside of the interim head coaching he was doing for the Warriors last year. 2012 head coach of the West Tigers NYC team. They finished fourth in the regular season, went undefeated through the finals, and beat Canberra 46-6 in the grand final. From there, he went to the assistant coach at the NRL Tigers team, as well as the New South Wales under-18 team. Won both series that he was in charge there. 2015, North Queensland NYC coach, while being assistant to Paul Green at the Cowboys for their grand final win. And then 2019, assistant at the Warriors, and 2020, interim head coach. So he's won 2 Origin series in the under-18s. He's won a grand final as an NYC coach. He's won a grand final as an NRL assistant coach. And he turned the Warriors around into one of the better teams in the second half of the season. He's pretty much done nothing but wins in coaching ranks. I've got some points why he's a big in. Why is he a big in for you?
I just love him.
Okay, there we go.
No. So the reason I love him was the press conferences he did last year. So NRL or professional sporting players have a very strict structure what they have to send, what they have to talk about the press. He did not stick to that once. He was fantastic. He told, him and another guy. I can't remember his second coach.
St. George.
Dean Young.
Brilliant.
Those two were the best press conferences all year. So I want to imagine what he says in the press conference is exacerbated to what he says to the players.
I don't think that makes sense.
So
is replicated to what you want in the same
as
what he's in the press conference.
He says more to the players than what he says to the press conference. So, he's more open with them. If he doesn't like you, he'll tell you. If you've done something wrong, he'll tell you. If you've done something good, he'll tell you. So that's what I like about him. And because of that, that's what I hope. I think that Cowboys, he's going to go in there and go, mate, you done this wrong straight away. We're going to work on it together.
Yeah.
Get that over the line. And that's what I hope he brings to the Cowboys. Just some honesty and stuff like that, because all reports out of Cowboys that it wasn't just Paul Green, it's the coaching staff weren't telling the senior players that you've done something wrong, or, the senior players were dictating to the coaches. He won't allow that. He'll just come and go, this is a dictatorship. This is my house. You do what I say. I fall by my sword if it's wrong. You fall by your sword if you don't follow what I say. And
I don't know if it's that. Yeah, I agreed with everything except for that last bit. So I've got him down as a player's coach. I've got him down as someone that players feel that they can go to with issues or concerns or ideas, and he would take that on board. But
that's what it is.
With your side of, if you're out of line, there are consequences in place, and you need to earn your way back in. I don't see him as one that will say, you didn't do this how I wanted to, you're out.
That might have been a bit extreme, but yeah.
I've got him down as a player development coach. You saw the Warriors grow under him. But the big thing, I think, is he's been there before as the assistant coach. He knows the area and the people. He's comfortable with it. He knows the pride of the region, and he's a community leader up there that he's shown in his previous stint there. The big question I've got for Todd Payton is, this is the first coaching position that he's going to be under pressure. There was no pressure at the Warriors last year. There's very little pressure as an assistant coach generally. New South Wales under 18s, you're there as a development coach. If you get the win, that's a bonus. But this is the first time where he's in a very important market for the NRL, who still have high expectations in a brand new stadium, who still have Tamalolo. I hope it doesn't. I don't see it happening, but if they don't get off to a half decent start and pressure starts to build, we haven't seen him in that environment before. It'd be interesting to see if anything changes. That's the one little thing I've got in the back of my mind. I'm quite confident. I like the hire. I think he was the best coach available they could have picked up. They were one of the positions I don't think Sean Wayne would have made sense. I think this is the best thing the Cowboys could have done. I wish they'd kept Asiata, but outside of that, pretty good. So going on to the team, I found this team difficult because there are a lot of players to me at a similar level, and it's which ones go in and which ones don't make it. It is literally based on efforts of last year. And I've already admitted to Jared that I got my 17 with an 18th man going, that's a really balanced squad. And then realized I'd forgotten Michael Morgan. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I put him in. I went, I don't like it. Now it's unbalanced. So it's going to be interesting to see how our teams stack up. So do you want to go first, bud?
Yeah. Okay. So my Cowboys team, I've got Holmes at fullback with Felt and Habisa Fidau on the wings. I got SM Masters and Justin O'Neill in the centres. I love this boy. I reckon he's got the potential to be one of the best players. Scott Drinkwater at 5'8". I've actually got Morgan at half. I just think that he had a really crap season last year for injuries, and it might have been outside. No one actually knows. So I'm really hoping that he gets back to full fitness and plays to his potential, because he is the leader they need. Maguire and McLean up front with Robson at hooker. Cohen Hess and Shane Wright in the second row with Jason Tamalolo, obviously at lock. I've got Adam's favourite player, Ben Hampton, at 14, with Lachlan Burr, Corey Jensen, and Francis Molo on the bench. The only struggle I have there...
Slow down. I'm writing it all down. Second row.
Okay. Second row was Hess and Wright.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So... Oh, yeah. So,
okay, cool.
Hampton, Burr, Jensen, and Molo on the bench. I think that's a pretty all-round team. The only thing I feel like they're probably missing is a ball player in the back row. Hess and Wright are very, line running players. I would have loved to see, a player in the same mold as, say, Wade Graham kind of playing out there as a second kind of 5'8". He can do everything. I know it's hard to find a player, but someone like that is to come on and, who can create something out of nothing from that second row position, which I think will make them a bit stronger.
Do you know who did a little bit of that last year?
Who's that?
Tamalolo.
Did he?
Yeah, but he's brought in a little short pass, but you'd have to run him wider. To be successful.
See, he's in the same boat for me because I went on a rant last podcast about Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, and Payne Haas is in the same boat as well. They use him as a workhorse. So, you got your set, and when you set up, when you're attacking the line, you give it to the forwards who's going to run, and you say if you want it on the left-hand post or the 25. Yeah. You give it to the forwards who aren't going to get an impact, who's just going to make meters. And Haas does that for Broncos. And Tamalolo does that for Cowboys. And it annoys the living shit out of me. It's so bad because, you give Tamalolo a block run where he's the back
He's
one.
Sweeping.
Yeah, he's the sweeper. Sorry, I blanked on that. And you get him around outside for like a foot of somebody. He's going to break the line. But he's doing the dead plays every single time. He's doing the crash balls. And it's just, it does my head in. How dangerous he actually is.
Because NRL coaches are very similar to ice hockey coaches. Outside of probably Craig Bellamy and... There's like crickets going in my head. They're like literally, Justin Holbrook maybe. They're very safe. It's play the percentages, play the simple plays, blah, 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 blah. Very little in the way of entrepreneurial play. When an NRL team takes a tap 30 meters out, 40 meters out, they're not trying to score on the first three plays. If they score on the first three plays, it's a bonus. It's get us to this position on the field so we can try our one move that we practice 300 times in training. Even if there's a 20-meter gap in front of us, the coach told us to play a block. Tamalolo's wasted on those front two. I completely agree. We've got way more differences in this team than we had in the Broncos. I think I agreed with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Jesus Christ.
Tamalolo because it was just a given. I had Holmes at fullback, which I didn't even love doing, but yeah.
I mistaked him for Drinkwater, but then I had to put Clifford in the halves. I don't think he's the best half they've got.
I want Michael Morgan at fullback.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Because that's where he started his career, and that's where he came onto the scene. That's where he was freaking brilliant. That's still where he played his best football. But in order to do that, the Cowboys, you need to take Cole Felt or Fido out of the team because I didn't see either of them being able to play center. And they're two of their strengths because Felt's still underrated in my opinion. He's one of the best finishers, and Fidau's just pure speed, which you can't coach. And Alex Johnson shows how important that is. So you can't move those wings out. So Holmes stays at fullback. I prefer Holmes on the wing. But anyway, I had SM Masters in the centers. I want to see what he can do under Payton. He doesn't really deserve to start there, but I want to see. I've got Connolly Lamelu, who was one of the few Cowboys in the second half of the season. When he got a crack at center, he was one of the few players who actually played really well. And I think he's done enough to earn a starting spot over O'Neill. I know O'Neill had the kidney laceration. Connolly Lamelu will offer them size, speed, and defensive, non-defensive liability that O'Neill is known for. Drinkwater at 5'8". My first... I'm still tossing and turning. I would honestly prefer Clifford at halfback and Morgan at either fullback or 14. But obviously, Morgan's a higher quality NRL player overall, so he needs to be in your 13. So I ended up with Morgan at halfback, but I still don't 100% like it. I've got Francis Molo playing at starting prop. He was their best prop last year throughout the season. I think he's earned his starting spot over Maguire. Reece Robson at hooker, Jordan McLean at prop. I got Mitch Dunn and Tom Gilbert as my 2 second rowers, with Tamalolo at lock. I think Hess has just fallen too far off, and I don't think Shane Wright offers enough to get a starting spot. That leaves my bench. I put Ruben Cotter at 14, Lachlan Burr, Josh Maguire, and then Emery Perry fought his way into the team towards the end of the season. He's a chunky, big prop, and he's just going to add size and a bit of aggression off that bench. And then I had Hampton, who I really do like, at my 18th man. You could chop and change Hampton and Cotter. I'd like to just see Cotter get a bit more game time. And yeah, I do really like the team here, but I did struggle with players like Cotter, Hampton, Morgan, Clifford, Dunn, Gilbert, Hess, for those sort of positions. So that leaves a depth chart of Granville, Cohen Hess, Peter Holler, Corey Jensen, Justin O'Neill, Murray Talagi, Shane Wright, Jake Clifford, and Dejan Arce, who I really wanted to put in. But to me, he is more of a 5'8", and Drinkwater did more than enough to hold his position. So
I actually really did like your team you've put forward, just because we did mention at the start that Cowboys got a bit stale last year, and the team I actually put forward was very standard of what the Cowboys were having last year, which might have been that there was so lack of responsibility for your position that you knew you were going to get it next week, so you didn't really worry. That the fact that Adam's able to put a team on there that is strong, but making everyone else, like having that depth of really quality NRL first graders behind them, makes it a lot better. So yeah, I really like that.
I'm quite like, if I was a Cowboys fan looking at this team in round one, I wouldn't expect us to be fighting top 4, but I would be excited to watch my team play. And if your team's not going to make the grand final, or even the finals, the next best thing to look for is being competitive, and then as a bonus, being good to watch.
Well,
that's just as a bonus. Like, teams aren't put together to be attractive to watch, but their teams are put together to win. But if you're not going to win the grand, you want to be competitive. But this team, I could get excited about watching.
Well, see what Adam said originally. If you're not going to make the 8, but you're going to, pull it down, give it a go.
Yeah,
give it a go. All you have to do is watch Bulldogs from last year. That's all they did. You knew they weren't going to make the 8, but they gave a crack. Like, they had a crack every game. Like, they walked out there. They didn't just bow down to teams, even though a lot of teams had a lot more quality players. The perfect example. 1 week, Newcastle play, I can't remember who it was, beat the crap out of them, even though they're a top 8 team, like really dominated. Next week, they got beaten 30-12 against the Bulldogs because they walked on expecting to beat them, even though the Bulldogs came with a way better attitude. And that's what the Cowboys need to do, even because I don't believe they will make the 8. But even if they don't, Cowboys fans want, Adam just outlined, 4 young, talented players. And then he didn't even talk about Dejan Arce as much as he could have, because he's a quality. He's going to be the 5'8" for a long period of time.
Yeah, he's a damn talented player.
Yeah, so they've got a lot of depth, and they've got a lot of young players coming through. So if Payton can start that Bulldogs kind of attitude this year and then build on that, because when we do hit the Bulldogs, that's going to be a main criticism. They've got the players now. Can they keep that attitude they had last year? Cowboys need to have that attitude and then build on top of that.
Yeah, this isn't going to make any sense to anybody, but I've talked about too many times. I already know this. Sorry. I Hockey team in the worst ever. This year, all I wanted to see was competitiveness. We versed the best team in the comp today, the one who won the cup last year. Our coach put 6 of our worst players on the ice because they're veterans and they've got leadership and experience and all this crap. We were down 3-0 in 5 minutes. Now, in ice hockey, if you win 3-0, you're pretty happy. If you're down 3-0 in 5 minutes, yeah, we lost 5-1, and those 6 veteran players played more time on the ice than our 2 most talented, skillful players, because he's such an old school, unrisk-taking fool and doesn't give the young guys a crack. And there's no progression. There's no advancement. This Cowboys team has an opportunity to progress and advance this year. And I think they've got the right coach in place to give these guys a shot.
Yeah.
Player to watch this year out of the Cowboys, I picked Francis Molo. Now, he might be a weird one to pick. He's 26 years old, 183 centimeters, 112 kilos. Is their prop. He debuted way back in 2014. Do you know how many
What is he, 16?
Do you know how many appearances he's played in the NRL? He's had in the NRL?
Over 100.
57.
Wow.
He played 20 games last year.
Oh,
so from 2014 to 2019, he played 37 games. So last year was his best year, obviously. He played 20 games. I think he's going to take another step up this year. I was really impressed with what he did. His average run meters are 117 out of 9.6 hit up. So he's averaging over 10 meters a hit up, which is good. And his tackle efficiency is not as high as you'd want. It's at 90.8. I reckon he can get that higher. But if he and Jordan McLean can form a partnership of just meter eating, which I don't think Josh Maguire's still got. He's there as a workhorse sort of tackler, and he'll get you some yardage. But I think this could be those two with Tamalolo taking the third, fourth hit up rather than the first two, could really lay a decent platform for this Cowboys team.
Yeah. Francis Molo, I can't believe he's that young. Yeah. He's got another 6-7 years left in him.
Yeah.
He was also in the Queensland development squad. He actually played for Queensland this year, didn't he? I think he played in the second game.
I would have to look that up.
Yeah, I'll look that up now. But yeah, he has the potential. I was just very surprised that he did. He is that young. So, yeah, you could be right there. Like, he really does have the potential there. My breakout star will actually be... I know he's not a breakout star, but some people don't know his history.
It doesn't have to be a breakout star. Just someone you want to...
Yeah, so I want Drinkwater. He has... So, his history was that he was touted as the next Billy Slater down at Melbourne originally. Yes. He was the first one they thought of when Billy Slater retired. He was trained in that. He tore his ACL, and then Jerome Hughes came along.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ryan Pappenhausen came along when they lost a halfback, and Jerome Hughes progressed to halfback. So we can't really deny the fact that Bellamy's got an eye for talent. And the fact that this bloke was considered the heir apparent to Billy Slater's jersey. I mean, they haven't lost much with Ryan Pappenhausen there, but you gotta ask, how good is this bloke to be the heir apparent? Like, that's insane right there. He's got the ball playing skills. But his biggest attribute is his agility and his speed and his awareness of what's around him. So
his footy IQ is high.
I want him to run this year. That's what I hope Payton tells him to run, because I'm pretty sure when he came over to Cowboys, his first game, he scored 2 tries and he's ripped through. I can't remember the team, but I remember the game and he just destroyed them. And I really hope he gets the opportunity to play this year because he has the potential to completely light up this competition. And I really hope he does because he's just a really good player. Like him and Brimson could be the two young guys coming through that could be the stars for the next 10 years. That's how high I rate him. Like he's really good.
No, he's just going back to Milo. He played for Queensland under 20s, but that was in 2013. He's played 51 games for the Cowboys from 2018 onwards, and he played for the Broncos in 2014-15.
Oh, for some reason I knew he was in the top
3 years in without NRL games. That's why he's such a weird.
He was in the top 25 for Queensland. I'm pretty.
He might have been the development squad or something like that. I wouldn't be.
Yeah, I'm 40. I know he's around there. But yeah, Drinkwater. I really hope he really breaks out, and Payton gives him the opportunity to that freedom on the field to do that.
If all goes well for the Cowboys leading into Origin, the Origin period could be really even more exciting for Cowboys fans. So I think it'd be a chance to throw Drinkwater at fullback for a bit because Holmes will be in the Queensland squad and put RC in at 5'8", just to give him an extended run, just another player for the Cowboys to look at. What do the Cowboys have to do this year they didn't do last year? It showed with Tamalolo out. The forwards have to lay a platform, and I touched on that earlier. If McLean Molo can pick up some of that slack, and if that happens, and the Titans showed the effect this can have last year, it gives the halves more time. The other thing that Holbrook did with the Titans is move Ash Taylor to 5'8", which gave him more time as well, and he had one of the best seasons he's had yet. But if those forwards can roll forward and give the halves more time, it's going to allow Morgan and Drinkwater, who aren't natural playmakers, they've kind of morphed into them, gives them more time to think. If both of those things happen, it will allow early ball for Lemelu and Masters, which Masters didn't get enough of last year. And they need more creativity. They only average 18 points a game. And if you look at an NRL season, how many games are you going to win if you score 18 points? Especially if your defense is second worst the year before. So
I actually think it's the opposite. I actually think it's the opposite. For Payton, I don't think he'll take much for that forward pack to fire with the experience, with the explosiveness they got. Like McLean.
But that's what I mean. It has to fire because they didn't fire.
No, but I don't think it'd take much for him to get that up. I think unlocking Drinkwater, Morgan, Holmes, Fido, I think that their forwards have a better chance of getting them into position than what their backline did last year in promoting that position. Making. I
think you just agreed with what I said, but in a completely different way.
No. I think that their forward pack done well enough last year, but their backline wasn't doing a good job. That's what I'm saying. I think their forward pack, McLean's, he's the forgotten New South Wales front rower. He's pretty good. And he did show that last year against when he did play for the Cowboys, what he did down at Melbourne. He was a really good front rower in Melbourne. They brought him up there, and I think he has the potential. And he's only young too. I really rate the second rowers they got in that squad. They're strong. They're ball runners. But I just think their backline needs to gel better. They've got a lot of really talented individual players there, but they've got to work together to make that good. And that's what
they didn't do last year. They didn't gel.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at their assistant coaches. You got Steve Georgalis and Dean Young.
Oh shit!
After top 8, so you've got 3 forwards. Not much with regards to playmaking there. So it'll be to see who takes. Oh, sorry, Steve Georgalis, of course, halfback 5'8". I was And then lock. I was thinking more of the lock position, but
yeah. So I do
180
think
centimeters, 92 kilos. Like, come on, it's a pretty big half.
I don't think that. I think their forward pack was good enough last year. It's their back line that let them down. And that came from Morgan being out, a lot of changes and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Finishing position for the Cowboys. 14th in 2020. They are going to finish. I've got them between 6 and 10.
Yeah, I've got them between 10 and 14.
So you've got them like I have. I think they're going to improve more than the Broncos will. Whereas the Broncos drastically outpacing the Cowboys.
Yeah, I just think they have a better team. I think Cowboys are where Bulldogs are at last year.
Wow.
Yeah. They got more talent, but they got to turn around their attitude real quick.
But I think that the Cowboys coach showed enough of doing that last year with the Warriors in worse circumstances than he's got in familiar circumstances here. So that'll be interesting. So I've got them 6 to 10. You've got them 10 to 14-ish. And our last one for our first episode, and we're getting pretty tired because it's 10:30 on a Thursday night, and we're not going to let Gold Coast Titans fans down. We're going to do a good job of this as we've done with the others. Well, when I say good job, we're going to put as much effort in. It's up to you whether you determine it as good. Gold Coast Titans. So established 2007, 0 premierships, 2 wooden spoons. Captain going.
Is that all?
Yep. Captain going into 2021 has not been officially decided yet. It's supposedly down to Fogarty and Proctor. Proctor signed on for another season. We were determining whether he's going to sign on, whatever was going to happen. 2020, they finished 9th on 18 points, 9 wins, 11 losses. However, the biggest stat they'll probably want to fix up is their average loss. So when they did lose, they lost by 21 points on average, which was the second worst behind only the Broncos. Out of their 11 losses, only 5 of them were close. However, if you look on the other side of things, out of their 11 losses for the season, this is really promising for Titans fans. Only 2 of those 11 losses were teams who finished outside the top 8. So they were losing to the teams who finished above them, and that's a good sign. For a team to go up the ladder, you've got to be beating the majority of teams at around your level, and they were. And the ones that they did lose were the Cowboys in round 3 and the Dragons in round 6. And we know both the Cowboys and the Dragons got progressively worse through the season. So every other loss the Titans had were to your Canberras, your Roosters, your Storm, your Penrith of last year. That's a good sign. So my thoughts on them last year, they were progressive in where they needed to. There's still more progression to come. And we talked last year a fair bit about the impact Holbrook had, and I wanted to see it from a statistical point of view because I'm a nerd for sports statistics like that. In 2019, the year before Holbrook, their average points scored per game were 15.4. Under Holbrook, that went up to 17.3. So you look at that 2 points extra per game. Might not seem like much, but then you look at the defense. They were letting in 27 points a game in 2019. That dropped to 23 points a game in Holbrook's first year. When you add the two together, that's a 6-point difference or a 6-point positive gain in one season per game. So if you take a converted try off your opponent's board and put it onto your board, that could change 3-4 games through the season, which would get them into the top 8. That's a huge turnaround to me in 1 year for a team that statistically and historically have been quite bad defensively and inconsistent. I just put Jared to sleep. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay. So with the Titans, I think this year, Taylor is under a lot of pressure.
Again?
More pressure than he's ever been under. So it's actually come out the reason he was off so long for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
It was under. We're not even going to bring it up why. You can research it if you want to find out. But justified. Let's put it that way. So right now, they went out and heavily bought for the forward pack this year. They bought the forward pack.
They had to.
But what that means for Taylor is that if he's not performing behind when we go through it, the amazingly talented forward pack they've got, he's got to be kicked out. That's honestly the thing, because as a halfback, if you've got a forward pack like that, what?
Would you say the same for Brody Croft?
Yep.
Okay.
100%. 100%. Like, if you've got the forward pack like they've got and you're not performing and creating opportunities off the back of they've got, you're not, especially the $1 million he's on,
last season he's in a contract year.
Oh, well, you know what I mean? Like, with the money he's on. Yeah. So he's got to perform better with the forward pack he's behind.
Can I just put an asterisk on that first? In that, I agree with 100% talented forward pack who also haven't played one game together yet.
But yes, that's right. But the thing is, the Titans have got meters. I wouldn't say they're overly strong defensively. Like, Proctor's good defensively, but I wouldn't say Fafita is the strongest defensive player in the world.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say, Fodawake is the strongest defensive player in the world. They're great meter eaters. Like, they're great explosive players. SASA. Tino's strong technically, but he's not a Dale Finucane who's going to control that middle so well that you don't think it's tight as anything. So that's the thing. Like, they've got the meters in that forward pack. It's defensively I'm concerned about. But if you've got a forward pack who's making meters individually like these Titans forward pack will do, Taylor needs to be able to play off the back of that, because that's what they're going to be doing. I wouldn't be surprised if they average the most meters out of every single forward pack. Because if you've got Fodawake taking the first run, then Tino, and then they pass it one off the ruck to Fafita, and then swing it the other way, you got Proctor, who can step and slide and do whatever he has to do. And then you bring it back in the middle, you got Jared Wallace, which not overly flash, but that's still 60 meters right there causing damage. And then you got Brimson sniffing around for a cheeky little offload, which will be their, that's pretty much going to be their game plan.
Yeah, guaranteed, yeah.
So that's, I wouldn't be surprised if they made the most meters in the NRL because of what they've bought. But the reality of it is that if Taylor's not backing up from what the forward packs will be producing, that's got to be a question mark over Taylor, because he is the premier half in that team now.
True. I think Holbrook did the best thing that any coach has done for Taylor's development last year and put him at 5'8" rather than halfback.
Oh, I love it.
I love it. It was brilliant. And hence why I had Croft at 5'8" in my Broncos team as well, because I think Kevin Walters would have seen the effect, and the more time it gave Taylor, he'll be doing the same thing with Croft. Now, it's interesting you talk about the forward packs. The Titans literally, in the offseason, lost an entire starting 6 forward pack if we put it together. But let's look at the players they did bring in. They brought in Herman SASA from Newcastle till 2022, Tino Fasamawale from Melbourne till 2023, David Fafita from the Broncos till 2023, Sesefo Fafita till 2023, Patrick Herbert, an underrated signing, I believe, till for 2021, and another signing is Sam McIntyre from the Tigers.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I love that.
I said they got rid of a forward pack. They didn't bring in a whole forward pack. So if you look, the players that left the Titans in this season, I'm going to read it out as a forward pack you put together. It's a forward pack that on its day could keep you in the contest because the strengths of it will probably overcome the weaknesses. We'll put it that way. You could put Ryan James at prop with Shannon Boyd, Nathan Peets at hooker with Keegan Hipgrave and Bryce Cartwright as second row and Jai Arrow at lock. That's what they lost in the off-season.
I rate 2 of those losses.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying that that's 6 players who, when you put them together in their positions, that's a whole.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously, Bryce Cartwright was never the player he was at the Titans that he was at Penrith. You could say the same with Shannon Boyd with regards to the Raiders. Nathan Peets as well for Parramatta. Ryan James hasn't been himself for 2 years due to injuries. He could be one of the best signings of the offseason if you can say injury the Raiders. Keegan Hipgrave to me is a loss. He had that edge that the Titans needed because they hadn't had someone like that since Greg Bird. And Jai Arrow is obviously the biggest loss of that whole lot because he's an Australian caliber player. You add on to that, Callum Watkins not reaching his potential. I had high hopes for him. And Dale Copley, who's just an experienced head in that back line, has gone to the Broncos. There's some big strengths that they lose, but they've brought in kind of younger versions of those strengths in some areas. So it's going to be interesting to see how Holbrook, this was the first offseason he had with this team saying, I want these players, see if we can get them. I think it puts them in quite good stead.
Do you know what? It was, Holbrook's a very successful coach in the Super League. And we talked about Kevin Walters that Super League is a very free-flowing version of rugby league compared to what NRL. NRL is so structured. You can tell the teams do the same set plays across all 16 clubs.
Kevin Walters was successful in the Super League.
But Justin Holbrook was.
Oh, very much so. Very much.
Yeah. The thing is that I look across this team, I don't overly see that many strong defensive players, like elite defensive players. This is a very attacking across their back line as well, because, Patrick Herbert, I rate him in attack. Defensively, he'd be someone would target. And like you said, they got rid of Copley. Copley would have strengthened that back line in defense with just his talk throughout the whole day. So I would imagine that Titans are going to score a lot of points this year, but they're going to have a lot of points scored against them.
Yeah, I thought that too. Hence why I went back and had a look at what Holbrook did. So I thought defense was going to be one of the things that the Titans need to fix up. Yeah. And
I think that's all they'll be doing over off-season, just defending. I don't think that their attack will speak for itself.
But within one season, in a team that was in the state of flux when he came in, he improved their defense by an unconverted try in one season, so 4 points. He does that again. That takes their average points against down to 19, which is still too high, but that puts him in the mid-pack now instead of the bottom-end pack. And with an attacking side, if your defense is in the middle and your attack's in the top quarter, you're going to be winning more games than you're losing.
I do have a question with that, though. Do you think Jai Arrow saved at least one try per game, one definite try per game? Because I would say he would have.
Oh, yeah.
So that's where that 4 points, it's gone out the door to South Sydney.
Yeah, you're not going to replace Jai Arrow defensive-wise, but who they've brought in, Tino's a better attacking player.
Oh, no, 100%.
But defense-wise, yeah, I do agree with you there. I think the balance of this side this year is still better than last year, even with the losses. But we'll see. Holbrook's, this is his also second full preseason with this team. But talking about his Super League, he was only there for 17 to 19. He finished at the end of 87 games, 70 wins, 17 losses.
Shit.
That was his first professional coaching gig. He got knocked out in the prelims the first year, then won the minor premiership and the grand final in his second year. So he had a win rate of 80%. First year in a Gold Coast Titans team that's consistently been inconsistent. 20 games, 9 wins, 11 losses, which is the highest Titans finish in Titans finish in however long. That's 45% win percentage. You put the two together, he's had 107 games in charge. His success rate's 74%. And his St. Helens team's obviously more talented. But he was on the coaching staff at Canterbury, St. George and Parramatta before he got an assistant coach job at the Roosters under Trent Robinson. He coached the Australia under-21s, and then he went over to the Super League. Now, I would love Justin Holbrook coaching my team. He brings a balanced approach. He's willing to try things, and he rewards form of players rather than reputation. He's one of the few coaches that goes outside that safety zone of let's just run through our sets and do this. To me, he's on the path to being Bellamy-esque in that he's getting more out of players that have been at the Titans than previous coaches have. And if he continues to do that, this club is going in the right direction. The fact that they re-signed him through to 2024 shows that they believe in what he's doing as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree that he has the talent as a coach to completely turn around this Titans team. I just hope that he's just doing defense at Titans this offseason, because I really do not see a player like if Arrow had stayed top 8. That's how much of a difference I think a player could like. If they bought Dale Finucane, top 8, easy. Someone just to control that middle that's just going to play for 80 minutes who's going to, I just don't, that's what I'm missing in this squad. They have every other part of the competition, like part that you want to make it a great ingredient of a football team. It's just, that's what I'm missing for their team. And
I can see that.
They've the thing they got on their side, Fafita's young, Taylor's young, Famasui's young. They probably got rid of their oldest player in Brian James. They've got Proctor, the old head there, which covers that. But I just think they need someone in the middle to control it.
Yeah,
I really do. And
just on Holbrook, I was just thinking about just before you started talking, if I had a choice of coach for my club, it'd be Craig Bellamy 1, Holbrook 2.
Jesus, that's a compliment. Especially with Trent Robinson around.
I do really appreciate what Trent Robinson has done. The only caveat there is he's had a hell of a lot more talent to work with. And I know Holbrook's only had a 1-season sample size, and Trent Robinson had a longer passage, so there's more chance of failure as well as success. I don't know. There's something about the way Holbrook talks and how he goes about things and his selections, etc., that I just really like. But anyway, what's your round 1 team for the Titans?
This was actually pretty easy for me. Okay, so AJ Brimson, obviously at fullback. I've actually got Jonas Pearson on the wing. I really like him.
Okay.
Philip Sammy. And I got Brian Kelly and Patrick Herbert in the centres. I've got Taylor at 6, Fogarty at 7, Fodawaker up front, Jared Wallace up front with him. I think he can be that old head. I just don't think he has the
legs.
Yeah. We'll put it. I've actually got Tanner Boyd at hooker. I think he's got the body for it, definitely. If he gets fit, he's got a pass. He can tackle, he's creative enough out of his hooker. Yeah, he's a lot of hookers don't. Yeah, that's the problem. And he's creative enough out of there to create some issues for a lot of teams. And then obviously you got Fafita, Proctor, and Tino in the back row. The person who misses out on that starting squad is actually Peachy, but I think he's the best one of the best utilities in the competition. And then I've got SASA, Jai Whitbread, and my 17 rounds out the team, Sam McIntyre, because I think he deserves a crack, and he's going to bring when he comes off the bench, he's going to bring that Nathan Brown, Keegan Hipgrave kind of attitude. He's going to come on and just bash the shit out of people, ruffle a few feathers. He's going to do that, which when you look at their team, they don't really have that. But when he comes off in 17 at the 20th minute mark, start causing some issues, start hitting people, borderline late, stuff like that. That's what I hope for him. How different is your team?
It was looking pretty similar till we got to the forward pack. So we ended up with 4 changes in the starting 13 and then 2 on the bench. So 6 overall. I was expecting to have the most changes, and I still think the Cowboys kind of did. He's no pure athlete, but I can't go past Anthony Don's try scoring and pace because he still actually has speed. Pearson, I do like, but he's still got mistakes in him under the high ball, and until I see him get his game, they're going to, because he's one of the biggest targets to hit with a high ball. He's like Blake Ferguson. They're just going to keep targeting him until he fixes that up. So I've got Brimson at fullback, Kelly and Herbert. I think Herbert's such an underrated off-season signing.
100%.
He's going to show it up. Philip Sammy on the wing, Taylor Fogarty, Fodawaker. I've got Mitch Rain. I think the fact that they got rid of Peets and they kept Rain shows that they've got the confidence in him. I also think that with such not an inexperienced forward pack, but a new forward pack with so many new faces, so having just some consistent ball to start with is going to be important. And the fact that they've lost Arrow, Mitch Rain can be that person in the middle. We know he can hit high tackle counts.
For me, he hasn't figured out his game yet.
I think he has. I think he's worked out. He's not the creative hooker that people hoped he would be. And in this team, I don't think he has to be. I think there's enough creativity.
Did you like Tanner Boyd today?
I don't mind him. I still think that for what this team needs right now, with so many new faces and how young the team is, there needs to be stability in some key positions. And even
I just want Tanner Boyd to have a crack.
Stability, because he's uninjured yet.
I really think he could do well at dummy half. I don't think.
He definitely could.
He's got one of the best kicking games in the competition.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's got the. I don't know what it is, but I don't think he can be a halfback in the NRL level. I think he's a better hooker.
Yeah, and I'm just looking through here. Like, you've got creativity at fullback with Brimson. You've got creativity with Ash Taylor. You've got a kicking game and control in Jamal Fogarty. And then if you got Mitch Rain, literally all he has to do is tackle and provide early ball and quick ball, which he can do. He's one of the best passing hookers in the game. I've picked the Titans Rookie of the Year last year as my starting prop with Fodawaker in Jermaine Jolliffe. I wasn't him at the start of last year, but he finished strong. I really liked him, so I'm having him there. I just don't think Jared Wallace has it in him to be a starting prop anymore until he shows that he can do more than he was showing last year off the bench. Fafita and Tino in the second row for me, with Tyrone Peachy at lock.
Proctor.
Yeah, the three Queensland teams. I've actually looked at I've put their captain on the bench.
Wow.
I just don't. I see what he offers. I know what he is, but Tino and Fafita are more damaging runners than Proctor are. And to me,
I think Tino needs to be in the middle.
Peachy's past that expectation of him being a great utility. He's a damn good 80-minute player, and he needs to be on the field because he can do a game out of. He can tackle his heart out. Still, he can outrun like 80-90% of the forwards in the game, and probably most of the centers actually, because he's still got pace. And he's a ball player again. Another creative thing that Rain doesn't have to worry about.
Why do people have to build out of positions? Like move out of position? Why?
He's not.
Why can't he be happy as a utility? Why can't players be happy as that?
He could be happy. Just if I was coach, I'd want him on the field for 80 minutes.
No, he's too on and off. Like I would.
Do you know why he's on and off? because he plays 4 weeks in a row starting and another 4 weeks on the bench. It's pretty hard.
Yeah, so starting him off the bench the rest of his life.
No, if he was at Melbourne, it'd make sense coming off the bench because you've got forwards in there and enough creativity, all that sort of stuff. In a team like this, to me, he needs to be on there for 80 minutes.
No.
He'll take.
He makes more mistakes than he's ready.
Yeah,
he makes more
coach
mistakes.
That's going to allow that, I think. He's got that expansive mind where, all right, he was trying something, he made a mistake. Let's defend for it now. Whereas other coaches are like, nah, screw it. He like,
and I also
would not even have him in his.
I also believe that Famasuli played his best games when he was playing lock.
He did.
He's not playing his best games on the edge. I think he's wasted out there for the way he plays. He's a crash player. He's not a line runner. He's a crash player.
Oh, I think he is a line runner. I think he definitely can be. And if you've got Fafita on one side and Tino on the other side, where are you stacking your defense?
Oh no, I get it. But I'm saying that, you got Proctor, old head out there, looking after it, calling plays. Proctor's not a less of a bench player than Peachy is.
No.
100%.
If Peachy burns himself in 30, 40 minutes, throw Proctor at second row, put Tino at lock. I don't care. I also think it's going to take a few weeks for Tino to get 80-minute legs under him. Because he did it a few times here and there for the Storm, but he was also...
So put him at lock and bring on Peachy when everyone gets tired.
Yeah, you knew it that way. I just think Peachy's now earned his spot there. Proctor's 1-year contract. Anyway, my bench, Sam Stone was awesome for them last year.
Oof.
When he started playing. He was really...
Yeah, okay.
So he's got to be, to me, he's got to be in the 17. So he's on the bench with Herman SASA, Kevin Proctor and Sam Lasone. Because you need at least one prop on the bench, I still think.
I did.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I'm looking at my team. I need to have at least one prop.
I prefer Whitbread
Stone,
over
SASA, and
Lasone.
Proctor. And then I've got Sam McIntyre as my 18th man. I think he'd be pretty unlucky to miss out because I really rate him high. But then I'm looking at my depth chart for the Titans, which is something they've always struggled with. Jai Whitbread, Jonas Pearson, Corey Thompson, we didn't even mention. Clearly Sam McIntyre is the 18th man. Jared Wallace, Sasaya Fafita, Bo Fermel, Aaron Clark, and Tanner Boyd. There's a good mixture again there of experience, youth, covering multiple positions. Same with the Cowboys. It wasn't a great couple of the last 2 years, but this is a team and a coach and a setup and a club with Mal Meninga being involved to be excited about, I think. They're really going the youth movement. This has to be one of the youngest teams in the comp outside of Anthony Don. And
Proctor.
Wallace and Proctor. But everyone else, like you look at Brimson, Kelly, Herbert, Sammy, Taylor. Foggy's 27, I guess. He's going to be one of the oldest.
Yeah.
O'Leaf, Fafita, Fasamawale, Pearson. You just keep going on. They're in a good spot. And I think they finally got the man making the decisions, the right two men in Meninga and Holbrook making decisions for this club to go forward. Anyway, last two things. Player to watch. I've got a surprising pick, I'd say. Who have you got?
Oh, man, I've got McIntyre.
Yeah,
I really hope he gets a full season.
Yeah.
I really hope he gets a full season. I really hope they use him like they use Nathan Brown. And I know Arrow was a big loss, massive loss, and he's their biggest loss. But I'm really disappointed they let go of Hipgrave. I think he could have been really rounded out this forward pack. But then they signed McIntyre. I'm like, yeah, okay, awesome.
I can see that.
He brings on their aggressive side. I know I said it before, but I really think that he rounded out their forward pack really well. And I really hope that Holbrook gives him a go and he walks on and he just hits people all day.
If anyone could see, if you watch YouTube and you're watching Jared's eyes, they're just glazing over and he's looking at distance and...
I can't wait.
There's this is probably my most boring pick of the night, but I've got, and I've outlined the reasons before, I've got Mitch Rain. With Aaron Clark and Tanner, they're chomping, but the fact that they've released Nathan Peets, this is his forward pack to control with the amount of young, talented forwards he has around him. Even if he's not re-signed by the Titans, I think this is a season where he can show his worth to other clubs and show that he's still got it. And it's not going to be a breakout. It's none of that sort of stuff. I think that he has a huge opportunity here to be the glue that this forward pack's going to need to hold all that talent together. For the Titans to succeed this year, they have to do something they've never done before and stay injury-free. In saying that, by doing that, they need to keep a consistent roster. That's the only negative I had of Holbrook last year was even when the team looked good, he was still making changes, which I could see from his point of view, looking at which players he wanted to keep. And then just keep doing more of the same. How they finished last season, keep improving the defense, keep giving Taylor and Fogarty early ball, keep kick chasing with that pressure, keep supporting the halves as Brisbane doing. Just keep doing more of the same. And I've got them predicted at 5 to 8. I've got them in the bottom half of the top 8. They finished 9th last year. There's a couple of teams in the top 8 who I see regressing while the Titans progress. So I don't see them challenging the top teams, but I do see them sneaking in and around that bottom 8 at the expense of probably the Sharks, no offense, but the Knights, those sort of teams fighting for that sort of positioning.
I see them exactly as Adam just said. I don't think they've got the caliber to beat the well-structured defensive teams.
Not yet.
Yeah. Melbourne, Roosters, I hate to say it, Penrith.
Canberra.
Yeah, Canberra. I don't think they have the attacking ability, center. But no, it's not that. I just don't think I think in the first year they'll be playing like ability or give it to them, and hopefully they do it, which is not enough to break down the Melbourne defensive line. Not enough to break down Canberra or Roosters. Teams that, like Adam said, who have weak periods for up to 10 to 15 minutes, Titans are a team where they'll put, 20, 30 points on them in that 15 minutes. I am looking at Newcastle in that period because they are that team who hasn't played an 80-minute game in a long time. That's what I'm kind of... And you know what? Looking at Parramatta as well. So I think they can beat those kind of teams. But when it comes to the really, really strong teams, they'll struggle.
I'm just looking at the ladder from last year. They finished on 18 points. Sharks were on 20. Huge difference in the for and against. Like the Sharks for and against was 0, which is insane itself. At times with negative 117. But that's one win and they tied with 8th. So from 9 to 11 to 10 to 10, you're in 8th position. If you obviously fix up your for and against. But and they're 2 wins off 7th. I can see a 2-win improvement in this team. That's hence why I've got them in the 5 to 8 range. Now, that's a huge episode. Looking at 3 teams, the stuff that happened this week. Jared and I are wrecked. It's now 11 o'clock on Thursday night. Remembering, this is our Sunday show as Jared's going away. So this will drop Monday morning. So there is going to be news that we're going to miss. Our next actual recorded episode is going to be Thursday the 8th. No, sorry. Thursday the 11th, where Jamie Soward will be coming on. We'll be previewing Canberra and Melbourne Storm, and we'll also be ranking the home and away jerseys of all 16 teams. If you haven't seen them, there are some hideous jerseys that we're going to be blinded by this year, but there are some pretty nice ones as well. So we'll be rating them.
Fucking Canberra.
Yeah. With Jamie's out next Thursday. But right now, I'm going to hit stop on record, stagger to bed, and fall asleep.
Yep. See yous.
Have fun camping, Jared. See you next week.
Thank you for tuning in to Six Again. Connect with the show on Twitter, Instagram, and the Six Again website. All links via the show's bio. Be sure to check out Adam